Howdy there, folks. Today we're going to be making low-carb hash browns, and I've got the perfect ingredient to make low-carb hash browns with. That ingredient is spaghetti squash. Now, even though this is called spaghetti squash, and even though people sometimes use it as a substitute for low carb, as a low carb equivalent of a spaghetti, its real purpose in life is to serve as low carb hash browns. And so I'm going to show you how to make that today. They're really delicious, and a half cup of this, only of the hash brown material we'll get out of it, has only 4 grams of net carb. So it's really a nice low carb substitute for using potatoes. So here's how we start preparing it. The first thing we need to do is we need to kind of go Anthony Perkins on this. And so we're going to make some holes in it. And we want to be sure that we get through the outer rind, because what we're going to do next is bake it. And that will soften it up and allow us to get at the good innards without having a lot of difficulty. And if you don't do this kind of Anthony Perkins number on it first, then you can suffer squash failure during the baking process, and your squash could have a warp core breach, which is no fun to clean up. All right, we've baked our spaghetti squash now, and there are different ways you can do that. You can broil it for, some say, 20 minutes or so, or you can bake it in the oven for an hour at 375 or so, but I don't like waiting that long. This is the 21st century, so I cooked it in the microwave for 15 minutes and then let it stand for 5 minutes to cool down because it is quite hot. And now what we're going to do is just cut it open at the equator. And as you can see, I'm using a oven pad to get into it. And once we're inside, you can see that it has some kind of fibers and seeds, not unlike a pumpkin. And so what we're going to want to do is get rid of those, and then we're going to start using a spoon to just comb out the filling, which will become our hash brown equivalent. But before we do that, we're going to let this cool down a little bit. I'm not so anxious to eat it that I want to burn all my fingers, so we'll be back in a few minutes. I've let the spaghetti squash cool down now, and I have begun the process of getting the material out of it. The first thing I did was I took out that pumpkin-like stuff, the seeds and the kind of a little bit slimier filaments from the center of it, and I'm just going to discard this. You could compost it. You could probably toast the seeds for all I know, but I'm not going to be doing that because I'm interested in hash browns. So what I'm going to do, and I've already done some here to illustrate, is I'm just going to keep scraping away at the center of the squash with a spoon, and that will cause these lovely hash brown-like filaments to come out. And I'm going to just keep doing that and do that for both halves of the squash, and when I'm done, I'll have a nice big pile of this hash brown-like material. So I'll be right back to show you that. And this is what you get when you have finished scraping out the halves of the spaghetti squash. You can see how empty they get. There's not near as much material left. And by the way, if you find that it's a little tougher going scraping it out than you'd like, it may be a sign that the spaghetti squash isn't quite cooked enough yet. So you can always pop it back in the oven or the microwave for a few extra minutes just to soften it up some more. But remember to let it cool down again, because it will be hot when you get done. So now that we have our hash brown material, we're going to make hash browns. Here we go. I've taken a skillet here and put in some olive oil on the base. Now, if you're doing the real bachelor lifestyle thing, you can make hash browns in the microwave just by heating up the material and putting on your favorite ingredients. But we're going to go a step up from that. We're actually going to use a saucepan or a skillet here. And as I mentioned, the hash brown material you get out of spaghetti squash has 4 grams of digestible carbs per half cup. And I wanted to show you what a half cup looks like. It's basically it's a little bit smaller than my hand, or maybe about the same size depending on how you rearranged it. But in any event, I'm going to fire up the skillet now, and we're going to cook. I've cooked the hash browns here for a couple minutes, and I've already flipped them, and now I'm going to add some additional ingredients just to dress them up a little bit. I'm going to add some black pepper. And then I'm going to add some cheese shreds. And these are just ordinary mild cheddar cheese shreds. And I'm going to add some bacon bits because there's nothing that doesn't go better with bacon. So bring those out and just scatter those on top. If you want, you could also add something like ketchup, but that will add to the carb count because ketchup or other tomato sauces do have a moderate amount of carbs. You can use them in to a certain point without ruining the low carb effect, but that's a matter of taste. I love it that way, but today I'm really wanting to do lower carb. So it looks like this is about ready, and I'm going to serve it up. So there we have it, delicious low-carb hash browns made with spaghetti squash, and this is about a cup worth of the hash browns, so it's about 8 grams of carbs, and that's all I'm making because I'm just cooking for myself right now. But with all that other hash brown material we got from this spaghetti squash, I'm going to be putting that in a container and saving it. I'm going to try freezing it because I don't think that'll really hurt it for these purposes, but we'll find out. In any event, that's the basics, and I know it requires a little bit of effort to get the hash brown material from the spaghetti squash, but once you've got it, it's just very simple, very easy, and it tastes very much like regular potato hash browns, so I hope you'll try it. Bon appetit.